Terry Porter was a hard-working point guard who pretty much did everything you asked of him on the court, from shooting it well to dishing the rock to his teammates to playing good defense, as Porter carved out a role with the Portland Trailblazers as Clyde Drexler's right-hand man, leading Portland to 2 NBA Finals appearances, with Terry Porter having a knack for elevating his game in the playoffs when it mattered most, being a consistent winner throughout his career as he only missed the playoffs once over 17 years in the league, where Terry Porter earned 2 All-Star appearances along the way and got his jersey retired by the Portland Trailblazers for his efforts. This is a look back on Terry Porter's career. Terry Porter was born and raised in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, where he would play his high school basketball at South Division, and in Terry Porter's words, he stated that he wasn't very good at basketball in high school, so no big schools went after him in recruiting. So Porter ended up going to the University of Wisconsin-Stevens Point to play his college ball at the NAIA level. Terry Porter's college career did not start off great, barely playing his freshman season before earning more time as a sophomore. Porter wouldn't even look like a star-caliber player until his junior year. Terry Porter took his game to the next level his junior season to average 18.8 points, 5.2 rebounds, and 4.2 assists, while shooting 62.2% from the floor, helping him become NAIA Player of the Year and an All-American, as he would lead the Pointers to the national championship game. But they would fall up just short, failing to hit the shot at the buzzer as Fort Hays defeated them. Though Wisconsin-Stevens Point fell just short, Terry Porter had left his mark along the run, winning the tournament MVP for his play. And after the impressive run, Porter was invited to the 1984 U.S. Olympic team trials as the only NAIA player to go. He would hang around, making it late into the camp before being cut. The experience had put Porter on the NBA scouts' radar as they liked his hard work and defense, on top of having a deft shooting touch. Porter, returning for his senior year, improved upon his numbers to 19.7 points, 5.2 rebounds, and 4.3 assists, helping him become first-team NAIA All-American again. Terry Porter, after the season, proceeded to play in the Aloha Basketball All-Star Classic, where he played against future NBA talent like Xavier McDaniel, Joe Dumars, and Detlef Schrempf, becoming co-MVP and solidifying himself as a draft pick with teams wanting his shooting, defense, and passing. In the 1985 NBA Draft, with the 24th overall pick, the Portland Trailblazers selected Terry Porter. Porter was joining a middle-of-the-line Trailblazers team headed by Kiki Vandeweghe, Clyde Drexler, Michael Thompson, and a young Jerome Kersey. Terry Porter found himself coming off the bench as the backup point guard year one to average 7.1 points and 2.5 assists, as the Blazers went 40-42, making it into the playoffs as a 6th seed, getting a series against the Denver Nuggets with Alex English, Calvin Nat, and Fat Lever, creating a matchup to see who had won the Kiki Vandeweghe trade that had also involved Nat and Lever, where Nat and Lever proved the Nuggets to be the winners, as both had big games throughout the series, sending Portland home quickly 3-1. In Terry Porter's first playoff experience, he averaged 6.8 points and 3 assists. Next season, Terry Porter would take over the starting point guard position for the foreseeable future, fitting in nicely as the setup man to Drexler, who was starting to look like a star-caliber player, in Vandeweghe, seeing Porter average 13.1 points, 8.9 assists, and 4.2 rebounds. The Blazers with Porter at point looked better, also helping the team were 2 separate trades in sending away Michael Thompson for Steve Johnson and trading for Kevin Duckworth, which helped see the Blazers improve to 49-33, getting the 3 seed in a round 1 series against the Houston Rockets led by Hakeem Olajuwon and Ralph Sampson. Portland was technically the higher seed, but Sampson had missed most of the year and was back for the series. On top of this, Olajuwon made it look like the Rockets were the higher seed from the get-go, as he proceeded to propel the Rockets to a convincing 3-1 series victory. Terry Porter over the series stepped up his play against Houston as he averaged 17 points, 10 assists, and 4.8 rebounds, being a bright spot in the series for Portland. Though it was a disappointing end to their year, the future was bright in Portland. Vandeweghe next season would get injured, missing a fair amount of time, but this provided opportunities for the younger guys. As Drexler developed into a superstar, Jerome Kersey elevated his play, performing Drexler's old role, and Steve Johnson became an all-star before going down injured. But Kevin Duckworth stepped up and took his place, coming to play even better than Johnson was. And at the head of the table, setting up everyone, was Terry Porter, averaging 10.1 assists, being the only franchise player in history to do so. And he also averaged 14.9 points and 4.6 rebounds this season, with Porter having a career game and this season being a 40-point performance along with 6 rebounds and 12 assists. As Terry Porter guided the Blazers with Drexler to a 53-29 record in the 4 seed, getting a matchup against the Utah Jazz with John Stockton, Karl Malone, Thurl Bailey, and Mark Eaton round 1. But just like the other year after having a strong regular season, the Blazers struggled in the playoffs as Karl Malone and Thurl Bailey scored as they pleased against Portland, as they would go on to lose the series 3-1. Porter over the series played well despite another defeat, averaging 17 points, 7 assists, and 3.5 rebounds. As next season came around, it was clear Jerome Kersey had taken over Vandeweghe's spot, resulting in the Blazers trading him away, helping create more touches in part for Porter, who would average 17.7 points, 9.5 assists, and 4.5 rebounds. But Portland seemed to be in a funk, disappointing, going 39-43, squeaking into the playoffs as an 8 seed, getting a matchup against the Los Angeles Lakers, led by Magic Johnson, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Byron Scott, and James Worthy, where again the Blazers got bounced out of the playoffs quickly, as the Lakers' title window was now, with Magic guiding them to a sweep over Portland. Terry Porter did his best to stop the sweep, scoring 29 points in Game 3, but it was not enough. Porter held his own against Magic the entire series as he averaged 22 points, 8.3 assists, and 5.3 rebounds. In the offseason, the Blazers lost Steve Johnson to the expansion draft, but the team made 2 moves helping them improve, first of which trading for Buck Williams to be the team's new starting power forward, and the other in finding a steal in the draft with Clifford Robinson. Terry Porter continued his same role next season with the improved team to average 17.6 points, 9.1 assists, and 3.4 rebounds. The offseason moves with Porter's and Drexler's consistent play, the Blazers improved to 59-23, getting the 3 seed, meeting Rolando Blackman, Derek Harper, and the Dallas Mavericks round 1. Terry Porter Game 1 helped set the tone for the series, scoring 28 points with the Blazers winning, where the Blazers continued this form, sweeping the Mavericks with Kersey finishing them off. Round 2, the Blazers got the Spurs, who were headed by David Robinson, Terry Cummings, Sean Elliott, and Willie Anderson. The Blazers and Spurs would be tied up after 4 games with the home team always winning. Game 5 continued the trend with Portland winning at home thanks to a 38-point performance from Terry Porter. Willie Anderson got hot Game 6, forcing it to go to a winner-go-home Game 7. Game 7 would be a tight one with San Antonio holding on to the lead late by 7, before the Blazers scored 7 points in 65 seconds, forcing overtime. And in overtime, the Blazers would win after a horrible pass from Strickland, leading to a breakout from Drexler. But the biggest reason the Blazers had won the game was Porter getting hot again, scoring 36 points, sending the Blazers to the conference finals, where they would be facing the Phoenix Suns with Tom Chambers, Kevin Johnson, Jeff Hornacek, and Eddie Johnson. The Blazers would win Game 1 late thanks to a shot from Duckworth. Game 2, the Blazers would get themselves into an early deficit, trailing by 22 points, before they would go on a miraculous comeback as Terry Porter finished it off, hitting 2 clutch big baskets, giving the Blazers the win. Phoenix responded, winning the next 2 games comfortably, tying up the series. Game 5, Clyde Drexler took over, helping Portland win, needing one more win to make it to the NBA Finals. Game 6 was a close one, as Phoenix's Jeff Hornacek was carrying them, but the Blazers took the lead late on a fast break and sealed the game off as Buck Williams stopped Tom Chambers, sending the Blazers into the NBA Finals. Awaiting them in the finals were the bad boy Detroit Pistons with Isaiah Thomas, Bill Laimbeer, Joe Dumars, Dennis Rodman, Vinnie Johnson, and Mark Aguirre. Game 1 was all Detroit as Thomas carried the team. Game 2, Portland kept around as Clyde Drexler was playing well, with Portland winning late on a Drexler free throw, handing the Detroit Pistons their first home loss of the playoffs, giving the Blazers confidence that they could go back home and win it at the crib, famously stated by Porter. But back in Portland, Laimbeer outplayed the Blazers' bigs, being more physical and outsmarting them, causing frustrations. On top of having a big game from Joe Dumars on the day his father passed away, leading the Pistons to a victory Game 3. Game 4 was a close one throughout, with the Pistons consistently holding a slight edge, defeating the Blazers as Danny Young's buzzer beater would not count. Game 5 was another close one as Vinnie Johnson had come into the game hot, keeping the Pistons around, before Vinnie Johnson capped things off, hitting a shot with 0.7 seconds left, giving the Pistons the NBA title. Terry Porter was an instrumental figure over the run to the NBA Finals as he averaged 20.6 points, 7.4 assists, and 2.9 rebounds in the postseason. The Blazers now had confidence that they could compete heading into the next season, and Porter continued to play well, averaging 17 points, 8 assists, and 3.5 rebounds, earning his first All-Star appearance for his efforts, as he was helping the Portland Trailblazers go 63-19, getting the 1 seed. meeting the Seattle Supersonics round 1 with Eddie Johnson and Ricky Pierce. Portland jumped out to a 2-0 series lead thanks to Drexler, but Seattle retaliated, winning Game 3 late on a shot from Sedell Threat, and winning Game 4 as Eddie Johnson was hot for Seattle, tying the series up. Game 5, Portland would survive the upset attempt from Seattle as they took the lead early, with Terry Porter leading them with 23 points. Round 2, the Blazers faced the Utah Jazz, who had improved since their last playoff matchup with the addition of Jeff Malone. The Blazers went up 2-0 in the series as Terry Porter hit a game winner with 3.5 seconds remaining and made the defensive stop on Stockton at the horn. Game 3, as like most of the series, Karl Malone dominated but got the win this time for the Jazz. Game 4 was another close one, but Portland held on to a victory late as Drexler hit a big shot and stole the ball. In Game 5, the Blazers put the Jazz away thanks to a big third quarter, making it into the Western Conference Finals, getting a series against the Los Angeles Lakers, who looked slightly different than the last playoff series between the two, no longer having Kareem. But they still had Magic and Worthy, who helped the Los Angeles Lakers steal Game 1 in Portland. Game 2, Terry Porter carried the Blazers to a win with 26 points. Portland went on to drop the next 2 games in LA before winning Game 5 back in Portland with a well-rounded team performance. Game 6 was a hard-fought one, with the Lakers holding the lead late by 1 after a big game from Sam Perkins. Portland had the ball with a chance to win it, getting a look off as Terry Porter took the jump shot, but missed, sending the Portland Trailblazers home. Though Porter may be remembered this postseason for the miss at the buzzer, Portland would have not gotten there without him, as he averaged 18.1 points, 6.6 assists, and 2.8 rebounds over the postseason run. Next season, the Blazers still looked strong, with Terry Porter averaging 18.1 points, 5.8 assists, and 3.1 rebounds, helping the Trailblazers get another number 1 seed after going 57-25, meeting the team that had sent them home the prior year in the Lakers round 1, who were a different team now as Magic Johnson was gone from the team with HIV and James Worthy was out injured. Without both, the Lakers couldn't slow down Portland as the Blazers easily advanced 3-1. Round 2, the Blazers faced the Phoenix Suns, who were now headed by Kevin Johnson, Jeff Hornacek, and Dan Marley. Game 1, Portland held on to a victory late as Terry Porter scored 31 points. The Suns and Blazers split the next 2 games, entering Game 4, which was a high-scoring battle that was back and forth that went to overtime as Terry Porter hit a game-tying 3-point play with 33.6 seconds left. And the game would even be concluded there in overtime as Kevin Johnson hit a game-tying jumper, this time with 2.7 seconds left, forcing double overtime. In double OT, the Blazers finally had won the game in a grueling battle, with the final score ending at 153-151, setting a record for most points by both teams in a playoff game with 304. The Blazers carried this momentum into Game 5, winning the series behind Drexler. In the Western Conference Finals, the Blazers got a matchup again in the playoffs against the Utah Jazz. Terry Porter led the Blazers to a 2-0 start after big games, with him scoring game-highs 28 points in Game 1 and 41 Game 2. Utah went on to win the next 2 games as Karl Malone picked them apart, as he always seemed to do against the Blazers, despite Terry Porter's best efforts in Game 4 as he scored 34 points. After this, the Blazers seemed to elevate their play, winning the next 2 games, making it into the NBA Finals in large parts due to Terry Porter. Awaiting the Portland Trailblazers in the NBA Finals were the Chicago Bulls, led by Michael Jordan, Scottie Pippen, and Horace Grant. Game 1 was all the Bulls as Jordan got hot and hit his famous shrug. The following game, Jordan was still hot, but the Blazers' offense was clicking, winning them the game. Game 3 was more of Jordan doing Jordan, providing the Bulls a victory. Again, the Blazers rallied, winning Game 4 behind Drexler and Kersey's performances. After Game 4, it was all MJ as Jordan proceeded to score 46 points and 33 points, winning the NBA championship for the Bulls. Terry Porter, over the run to the NBA Finals for a second in time, improved even more so, having multiple big games to get the team there, averaging 21.4 points, 6.7 assists, and 4.6 rebounds along the way. In the offseason, the Trailblazers signed Rod Strickland in free agency to help push them over the top. The addition of Strickland didn't do anything but slow down Terry Porter as he averaged 18.2 points, 5.2 assists, and 3.9 rebounds, becoming an NBA All-Star for his second time, and he was the recipient of the J. Walter Kennedy Citizenship Award for his role within the community. The Blazers, on the other hand, despite Porter's success, took a dip this year as Kersey and Drexler battled injuries, going 51 and 31 entering the playoffs as a 4 seed, facing the San Antonio Spurs round 1, who had improved since their last playoff series matchup, adding Dale Ellis. The Blazers entered the series without Drexler, but he would return Game 2, helping them tie up the series. But he was clear that Drexler wasn't at his superstar form, and David Robinson was, as Robinson sent home Portland 3-1. Over the series, Terry Porter had averaged 16.5 points, 2 assists, and 5 rebounds. After the disappointing end of the year, the Trailblazers decided to switch things up, trading away Kevin Duckworth for Harvey Grant. The things continued to change mid-season next year as Rod Strickland was playing well at the point guard position, which pushed Terry Porter to coming off the bench, seeing a decrease in his numbers to 13.1 points, 5.2 assists, and 2.8 rebounds. The changes continued as Jerome Kersey was taking on a smaller role, and Drexler was missing time with injury, causing the team to slip further, going 47-35, getting into the playoffs as a 7 seed, creating a round 1 matchup against Hakeem Olajuwon and the Houston Rockets, where the Blazers could not slow down Olajuwon over the series as the Rockets won via a gentleman's sweep. Terry Porter, coming off the bench in the series, averaged 10.3 points, 3 rebounds, and 2.3 assists. Next year, Porter continued the same role off the bench to average 8.9 points, 3.8 assists, when healthy as he battled injuries, limiting him to 35 games. Meanwhile, the Blazers continued to slip further where their championship runs once were, as they had traded away Drexler mid-season, going 44-38, getting into the playoffs as a 7 seed. The Blazers wouldn't be around for very long as Charles Barkley and the Suns kicked their butts in a sweep. Porter in the series against the Suns averaged 6.3 points and 1.3 assists. In the offseason, the Portland Trailblazers wanted to continue their rebuild, releasing Terry Porter. Terry Porter, as a free agent now, decided to sign a deal joining the Minnesota Timberwolves. Porter was joining a struggling Timberwolves team that was led by Tom Gugliotta, Isaiah Ryder, and Christian Laettner, while also having an incoming rookie by the name of Kevin Garnett. Terry Porter for the Minnesota Timberwolves split time coming off the bench and starting, putting up numbers of 9.4 points and 5.5 assists. And for the first time in Porter's career, he was on a losing team that missed the playoffs, going 26-56. In the offseason, the Timberwolves made improvements, trading away Laettner to create up a clear path to playing time for Kevin Garnett. And they also traded away Isaiah Ryder as he was disrupting the locker room chemistry. As well, the team had drafted Stephon Marbury to be the team's new point guard. The selection meant Porter was taking a full-time role off the bench again, with Porter averaging 6.9 points and 3.6 assists. But he was back on a playoff team as the offseason moves paid off for the Timberwolves as they would get a 6th seed, making the playoffs for the first time in franchise history after going 40-42. Round 1, the Timberwolves met the Houston Rockets, who had Hakeem Olajuwon, Charles Barkley, and Clyde Drexler. The series highlighted veteran experience versus youth, with the vets and the Rockets winning via a sweep, being in control from the start to finish. Against Houston, Terry Porter averaged 5.3 points and 3 assists. Next season, Terry Porter earned more playing time back, increasing his numbers to 9.5 points and 3.3 assists. The team was improving, going 45-37, putting together the franchise's first winning record, entering the playoffs as a 7 seed, where they'd be playing the Seattle Supersonics Round 1 headed by Gary Payton, Vin Baker, Hersey Hawkins, and Detlef Schrempf. Game 1, the Sonics blew out the Timberwolves, but the Timberwolves would switch things up, changing their game plan moving forward in the series, moving Terry Porter into the starting lineup, with the move paying off as Minnesota won the next 2 games as Porter scored 21 points in Game 2 and 18 points in Game 3. Then Seattle adjusted as their backs were against the wall as Gary Payton took his game to the next level, winning the next 2 games in the series for Seattle. Terry Porter played a large role in making the series competitive, averaging 15.8 points, 3.2 assists, and 5 rebounds. Yet despite a strong showing from Porter in the playoffs, the Timberwolves released him in the offseason, wanting to go in a younger direction. Terry Porter, as a free agent, signed with the Miami Heat to join the team for the next year. The Heat looked like a championship contender with the duo of Alonzo Mourning and Tim Hardaway, with Porter being brought in to back up Hardaway, where Terry Porter averaged 10.5 points and 2.9 assists, helping the Heat go 33-17 in the lockout-shortened season, getting a 1 seed in a series against the 8-seeded New York Knicks, who had Latrell Sprewell, Allen Houston, Larry Johnson, and Patrick Ewing. The Knicks took Game 1 in a surprising blowout. Miami responded Game 2 behind Mourning's play, but in Game 3 it was another blowout with New York winning with a big game from Sprewell. Game 4, in a similar pattern, the Heat responded, creating a winner-go-home Game 5. which ended up being a very low-scoring slugfest as Miami held on to the lead late by 1 point. But with 0.8 seconds left, Allen Houston hit the shot, upsetting the one-seeded Miami Heat round 1, with Terry Porter conceding to miss the buzzer beater the following possession. Terry Porter over the series held true to his regular season form, averaging 9 points, 3 assists, and 3.8 rebounds. Again in the offseason, and all the two similar move to the prior year, the Heat released Porter, going in a new direction at the backup point guard position. Terry Porter went on to sign a contract joining the San Antonio Spurs, who were coming off winning a championship with their dominant bigs of Tim Duncan and David Robinson. Terry Porter was wanted by the Spurs to be the backup point guard to Avery Johnson for another championship push. Porter in San Antonio averaged 9.4 points and 3.3 assists, but did miss some games due to injury as age was catching up to him, helping the Spurs have a solid season when healthy, but not quite championship form as Tim Duncan picked up an injury late in the year, seeing the team dip to 53-29 entering as a 4 seed, facing the Phoenix Suns round 1 with Penny Hardaway, Jason Kidd, and Clifford Robinson. The Suns also had injury problems like the Spurs, missing Kidd most of the series, but Penny Hardaway stepped up, guiding the Suns to a 3-1 series win as the Spurs clearly missed Tim Duncan. Over the series, Porter averaged 5 points and 1.3 assists. Next season, Terry Porter found himself taking on a larger role, becoming the team's starter for half the year as Johnson went down with an injury, seeing Terry Porter average 7.2 points and 3.1 assists, helping the Spurs go 58-24, getting the 1 seed, in a matchup against Porter's former team round 1 in the Minnesota Timberwolves, who were led by Kevin Garnett, Wally Szczerbiak, and Terrell Brandon. Minnesota did not put much of a fight up as Tim Duncan was too much for them to handle, with the Spurs advancing in 4 games. Round 2, the Spurs met the Dallas Mavericks with Dirk Nowitzki, Michael Finley, and Steve Nash, where like round 1, Dallas couldn't slow down Duncan either as the Spurs won the series comfortably via a gentleman's sweep. Making it to the Western Conference Finals, the Spurs met the Shaquille O'Neal and Kobe Bryant-led Lakers. Duncan did continue a strong form this postseason, but one superstar matched up against 2 does not work out as Kobe and Shaq carried the Lakers, sweeping the Spurs out of the playoffs. Over the run to the conference finals, Terry Porter as the team's starting point guard averaged 8.3 points and 3.4 assists. In the offseason, the Spurs drafted Tony Parker, sending Porter back to the bench to back up Parker. Terry Porter came off the bench to average 5.5 points and 2.8 assists on a Spurs team that still looks strong, getting a 2 seed after going 58-24, facing the Seattle Supersonics round 1 with Gary Payton, Vin Baker, and Rashard Lewis. The Spurs and Sonics teeter-tottered the first 4 games as Robinson was out the majority of the series with an injury, before the Spurs blew out the Sonics in Game 5. Round 2, the Spurs met the team who had sent them home the prior year in the Los Angeles Lakers. The Spurs this time did a little better, having a chance to tie up the series in Game 4 before losing it late as Duncan missed the game-tying basket at the horn, before going on to drop the next game, losing the series 4-1 in Game 5, as San Antonio again struggled to slow down Bryant or Shaq. In the postseason, Terry Porter found his role reduced as he averaged 3.3 points. After the season, Terry Porter retired after spending 17 years in the league, where Porter averaged 12.2 points, 3 rebounds, and 5.6 assists over his career. After his playing career, Terry Porter stuck around the game of basketball for a while, becoming an assistant coach in the NBA, before working himself up to becoming the head coach for the Milwaukee Bucks and the Phoenix Suns. With Terry Porter nowadays moved out of the coaching role into an ambassador one with the Portland Trailblazers. Terry Porter will be remembered as a point guard who could provide you good shooting, high-end defense, and the ability to set up his teammates with passes, while having a good attitude throughout, helping him become a fan favorite in Portland. On top of Porter playing the perfect complementary player to Clyde Drexler, helping the Portland Trailblazers make it to 2 NBA Finals appearances with stretches of him carrying the team. Terry Porter was a winner everywhere he went, as Porter only missed the playoffs once over his 17 years in the NBA, earning Porter 2 All-Star appearances along the way and getting his retired jersey by the Trailblazers. Terry Porter simply could get hot and take over any game in his prime at any moment, in particular down the stretch of a ball game. Thanks for watching this video on Terry Porter's basketball career. If you want to see any other videos in the future about any other random players, leave them in the comments below and I may or may not decide to do them. Thanks again for watching. This has been Skid Denver.